The OFF Remake has some glaring omissions that prevent it from being a slam dunk, but its new arrangements, polished presentation, and exclusive bosses make it an easy recommend for OFF heads. Almost. The vivid imagery you'd see right before your last breath would probably look like OFF. It's one of the only games where you can feel humidity just looking at it. The whole world just has this creepy artificial feel to it. The game forgoes biomes like deserts, forests, and tundras for colors, like a blue library that's eerily fake, or purple mines that stretch on forever yet feel claustrophobic. If you're not familiar with the first OFF, here's a rundown.
You're an irredeemable monster! What took you so long, idiot?
The original OFF is a freeware RPG Maker game from 2008 where you play as a baseball player, going universe to universe, making people very sad. You are now an OFF lore expert. Congrats. OFF's cult status garnered enough interest for a full-on remake, and after putting up with a lot of RPG Maker-infused jank for almost 2 decades, it's hard not to fire up the new version and be flattered by the fresh coat of paint. Menus have a sleek, almost Persona feel to them, yet don't feel out of place. Things like battles expand to the screen in a cinematic way. Even the borders on the sides of the screen change dynamically with the environment you're in. Neat. There's also a completely new soundtrack. Not remixes or remasters of old songs, just completely different. But it's got an odd vibe. I'd say the new soundtrack feels off, but that's the problem, it doesn't. I'm kidding. While some audio darlings can never truly be replaced properly, what's here still stands well on its own. The new battle theme does unmistakably feel like OFF. But we have to talk about it, there's no getting around it. The loss of the original soundtrack is a travesty, especially the old standard battle theme Pepper Steak, easily one of the best songs ever made for video games. Pepper Steak is to OFF what mushrooms are to Mario, X-Wings to Star Fox, title crawls to Star Wars, not taking criticism to Deltarune fans. To lose it is to remove a chunk of OFF's entire soul. Alas, the old soundtrack has been purified. There have been understandable reasons cited for its exclusion, making it hard to fault Mortis completely, but man, what a loss. All of that said, if anyone can help you in a situation like this, it's Toby Fox, because yes, Toby did contribute tracks to this remake. As others have pointed out, this is a full circle moment considering Fox has cited OFF as an inspiration for Undertale on more than one occasion. Toby's songs are great of their own accord as to be expected, and while nothing can truly top Pepper Steak, the new default battle theme, White Meat, does grow on you over time. Irregardless, someone does need to mod Pepper Steak into this thing ASAP. Hell, make it the boss battle theme instead. I always thought the song was so intense it'd be more suited to boss encounters than standard ones anyway. Not hearing it as much throughout the game would only add to its power. The new content does not stop and start at the music though. Optional bosses now pollute each purified zone and the world map itself. You'll need to beat each if you want to see all of OFF Remake's new content, but I gotta tell you, it ain't worth it. Exploring purified zones does have a unique angst to it, letting you sit with what a purification actually is. A gray-matted, empty countryside under an indifferent sky. Truly desolate. Man, are the monsters you randomly encounter annoying though. You'll fight these spongy enemies called secretaries in each purified zone. Though they look different in each area, all are irritating to put up with. You'd be pressed to find any OFF fan that says the combat is the best part, but even by the typical standards, this is tough, man. I suppose this is as good a time as any to talk about OFF's battle system. TLDR, it exists. Combat has not been reinvented from the ground up or anything like that from the original version, but menus do feel snappier and animations feel faster too. It is a shame, however, to fight in a world as unique as OFF's against enemies so interesting through the format of an insanely by-the-numbers turn-based affair. It's rare you'll really have to think about anything in these fights outside of turn-based common sense like topping off on health every now and again and reviving allies, if you can even call them allies. The new UI is sleek though, especially when selectable options start to spike and flare yellow, indicating your next attack will crit. In my last video on OFF, I gave it a lot of flack for its pedestrian combat and obtuse puzzles. Time makes fools of us all because while the combat is still nothing to write home about, the puzzles were actually kind of fun. Most of them seem daunting or overly obtuse at first, but spending a short time with them reveals they're actually very surmountable. Yeah, you'll probably need a notepad for a lot of them, but it's always hard not to feel kinda smart on completion of one. I can promise you that my smoother experience with the puzzles this time around is not due to me remembering the solutions to any of the obstacles from my last playthrough nearly 3 years ago. I didn't remember anything and had to start from scratch. Hell, for some of them I didn't even know the answer, so I just had to brute force my way through, and it actually worked on one occasion, which was pretty cool. Though there are parts of my old video I still agree with. The cat character you quickly become acquainted with introduces himself as the judge, and he talks like an edgy dude that found a thesaurus. Some of the stuff here might seem trite or overplayed, like acknowledging the player's existence or an NPC making fun of vendors in other video games, but bear in mind the original version of this game was published in 2008, before One Shot and Undertale talked about meta stuff, and before making fun of RPG mainstays was more common in video games. Like any story that sparks intrigue, a good portion of OFF's finer details are purposefully walled off from the player. There's no shortage of titles that encourage theorizing about lore nowadays, so this was especially special then. There's a handful of moving pieces in the story, such as a child named Hugo who seems to have a literal effect on many facets of the world. Neat stuff to dive into, I'm sure, but really all of us are just gonna look up a lore video or something. OFF's Remake is a much smoother and elegant way to enjoy a cult RPG Maker classic. The loss of its iconic songs, while tragic, is worth overcoming if you're a particularly big fan of this universe. Is this the best version of OFF to play for newcomers? I would say despite everything I've said in this video, yeah. Not even Pepper Steak's exclusion was able to kill this remake's momentum, though I would advise a newcomer to play the old one as well, and to be aware of how slow combat can feel at times. But you're not here for the combat, you're here for the slow unraveling of who the batter truly is. What does that mean for the final boss? I'll let you be the judge.